Hi guys, and welcome to Brooker Ceramics. It's week 31 and today we're going to be making some nice ceramic plates. I think the ceramic plate's probably one of the hardest objects that I've found throwing, purely because of how thin the material has to be and how important it is to dry that material really slowly over a number of days. Some of you might have seen my shorts. I'm quite an impatient person, so having to wait, a week or a week and a half until you can start trimming these plates up was quite a challenge for me. I just wanted to kind of get on with it and get that final finished piece. But I'm really happy with how it's turned out. I'll zoom it in so you can have a look. We've got a nice kind of lip around the plate here, but what I'm most proud of really is the foot itself. You can see here, hopefully you can see that on the camera, how kind of detailed it is and accurate. I really struggle sometimes getting the foot really central and centering the vessel, but these plates came out really nicely. So I've got a really great video in store for you, walking you through my processes and the journey that I've taken from turning a ball of clay into a plate like this. So watch along and let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe if you want to see more. So hoping you guys enjoy and see you in the next one. So for the plate, I just want something really simple this week, just kind of a sloping plate with kind of a small little foot like that. Last time I made the clay plate, I used 900 grams, which is a little bit too much, so I'm going to try something around 800 grams of Earthenware clay, and it's going to be around 2 centimeters by probably 18 centimeters. So let's weigh it down. So now that we've got the clay weighed out, 800 grams, it's time to begin throwing it on the potter's wheel. So I've already attached the bat, and for a plate it's really important to throw on a bat first because the surface is so flimsy, you just can't lift it off the wheel. So I am limited slightly by how big my bat is, so I'm going to have to throw the plate the full width of the bat, and we're going to have to accommodate a little bit for shrinkage over time. So I'm going to start like I do with most projects, is coning and centering to get that clay nice and center, and then I'm going to do a technique where I open up the plate, and rather than kind of just stopping like I would for a mug or a bowl, I'll continue doing it and open the entire plate nice and flat. At that point then I'll begin to compress it and just tidy up the rim itself. So let's zoom you in and take a look at that. Once I've got the clay ball roughly centred, it's time to begin coning and centering the clay. It's really important that you take your time here and that the wheel is going at good speed. Too fast and the ball will get thrown off, too slow and there'll be problems with it falling centrally onto the bat. Continue to repeat this process over and over until the clay is nice and homogeneous and spinning really centrally on the wooden bat. Once the clay started to spin centrally, it's time to open it up, and I achieve this by pressing my thumb into the clay ball and then opening the clay up. As this is a plate, I'll continue to open up the clay and allow it to fall open onto the side of the bat like so. Using my fingers, I'll raise the edges slightly to create the plate rim. A step that is often missed when throwing plates is compressing the base, and this is really important so that the clay itself is nice and strong and firm. It also allows you to ensure the clay is the consistent thickness across its diameter. I'll continue to repeat this process of pulling and drawing clay from the centre of the wheel out towards the edges and pressing the clay down onto the bat. Finally, just tidying up the rim with my fingers. Once I've got the desired shape, I'll come in with a sponge and just remove any excess slip. This will help with the drying process to come. Clay on a plate form can take weeks to dry out, so it's really important I dry it out nice and slowly so that it dries evenly and it will reduce the risk of the plate warping. So I'll score a wire underneath the plate itself and lift it off the wheel before setting it aside to dry. So I've been drying this plate out now for about a week, really slowly in its own kind of Tupperware container. And this will allow the clay, because it's such a large surface area, to dry out nice and evenly. I've also flipped it as well so that I can dry out the base, because I'll be required to do a lot of trimming in here soon. And it's now nice and leather hard and ready to be trimmed. So earlier this morning I've actually trimmed another plate, and I'll show you that one now. And you can see how it'll look when it's finished. So what I'll probably do for this one is burnish the inside like I've done here, and then on the base trim in a nice foot like that. Once I've trimmed it all down, it will still be slightly tacky, and because they're quite fragile, I need to make sure I keep them laid down nice and flat so that it dries out nice and straight. So let's zoom you into the wheel and begin trimming up this plate. Bracing the plate with my hand, I'll begin to centre it on the wheel. Once I've found centre, I'll give it a light tap with the bat just to make good contact. Next I'll come in with some blobs of clay and just use them to brace against the side of the plate, and that'll allow it to hold it in place nicely. Before doing anything, I make sure to trim the base flat, and this will make sure that any trimming that will come later is based on a flat bottom. Once the bottom's been trimmed nice and flat, I'll flip it over and begin trimming the inside of the clay. I may also decide to burnish this with a wooden tool later, but for this piece it came out okay. Now I've flipped the plate over again, and it's time to trim in the base. As the plates are really thin, it's important to remove tiny bits of material bit by bit so that not to make the plate too thin and warp it. Once I've carved it in with the tool, I'll come back in with a flat tool and tidy the surface up. This gives me a desired depth, which I can then use on the other side of the plate to trim in the other side of the foot. And again, just slowly reducing the clay down bit by bit. You can see all the clay material flying off. As I begin to reduce more and more, I make sure to hold my hand steady, as this will ensure a nice flat surface. It can sometimes be quite easy to allow the uneven surface of the clay to rock your hand as you trim, and this will result in surfaces that are really bumpy. So you can see here that I'm bracing my hand with multiple points whilst I begin to carve in the foot and just chamfer in the edges slightly. I'll repeat this process until the foot is a desired thickness. The final touches are to make sure that the foot itself is spinning nice and flat before chamfering in the feet for a final go. I'll also use my index finger and my palm of my hand to smooth down the rim of the foot as it spins on the wheel. This allows it to burnish the edges, but also keep downward pressure to stop the plate from spinning off. A final touch with all my vessels is to sign my name in the bottom. I haven't got a maker's mark yet, but I hope to get one soon. Now that the bottom and the inside of the plate are trimmed up, it's time to do the same with the sides and blend it all together. In a similar way, I'll use my fingers and other tools, as well as a wet sponge, to burnish all the sides, remove any of those burrs of clay, and just soften the vessel slightly. You can see here the final form is coming together. So here's the final piece. Thank you all for watching and following along. I hope you enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe.